and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. We are the Dadley Boys of WhatCulture. I'm Adam Wilbourn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review AEW Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete with a quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As said, though, joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick to review last night's Dynamite, the go-home ahead of AEW Grand Slam Australia.
Indeed. If you squint, and if you get rid of, I'm trying to coin this, I want to make it a thing, the two-man power trip of Mox and Jericho. If they just aren't there, and you pretend instead that Hangman and MJF, which just feels even hotter than I thought possible, was your world title program and your main event. I'm not saying it would feel hot or we're so back, but my God, it would be friggin' close. I don't know what's going on. That weird oscillation of WWE not being hot and something else getting hot, even in the underground or in the shadow of WWE, or now that there's an AEW, could never be hot at the same time. Or like really great at the same time. Going down the line now, 1998 might be the only time it's ever happened.
Yeah.
Right? Where WWF and WCW enjoy their best critical acclaim years in 1997, but commercially very, very far apart. You have Goldberg and Austin in 1998. The NWO, it's still hot and big or whatever, or big rather than hot, but popular, a draw, what have you. 1998 might be the only year that it's actually happened. And even then, I think it was Kevin Nash was recounting the words of then Booker Kevin Sullivan the day after WrestleMania. They haven't even unleashed Goldberg yet, and Kevin Sullivan knows. He knows what's going to happen. He apparently goes up to Kevin Nash. It's just by the by. Kevin Nash like, see what happened last night? And Sullivan's like, yep, an iceberg called WrestleMania. They haven't even unleashed Goldberg yet, and they know it's done.
Bischoff got the dreads when he saw Tyson on Raw.
Yeah.
Because they got it so right, and they'd been the Rodman celebrity company, and it's like,
Jesus Christ, son, when you step into my ring, it's done. It's done. Then the iceberg hits and all the rest of it. And then what happens, it's so eerie. Just the click of the fingers overlap and the overtake. And yes, WWE is going to be commercially more successful than AEW forever. We're talking about momentum, what feels like the cool thing, the big thing, you know. Brawl Out happens so quickly after McMahon's resignation and disgrace and Levesque taking over. And now,
it's Clash at the Castle weekend, and nobody ever thinks about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so weird. Their big stadium show, kind of like, things look different in WWE.
Yeah.
And nobody ever puts those two things together.
And now, after 2 full years and change of AEW's finished, getting worse and worse, repeating every mistake that every booker ever makes, copying WWE's homework, then WWE is just rampant, third boom, all the rest of it. The second, and maybe it is just the contrast is needed, but the second that this Netflix thing happens and there's compromised City Jones on this WrestleMania build, and then AEW quietly is getting hot shows with some really intriguing storylines and characters starting to hit, and Swerve, Ricochet, Page, Hangman, Omega's back. It's just wild. This might be happening as a perception of one company's doing good stuff and one company isn't. I'm not talking about a commercial war or anything of the sort, but the battle of perception, we might be on the precipice. I don't know. One company might just be cool or hot again. I don't know, but
Promising.
There's some promising signs on this AEW Dynamite, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's been some promise all year. Like we kind of always joke about the it's so over, we're so back. I feel like
Dynamite might suck ass next week.
But I feel like for 2025 at large, I hear it in like your voice. It's like, it's not we're so back, it's we're so good. Like, it's just mostly good. It's a bit of a stinker of a Dynamite the other week, but it already feels like a rule-proven exception for 2025. And that's all right, because not every single week can hit. And that is often the expectation of good shows or hot shows or whatever, but realistically, it never plays out that way. Directions have felt good for most of this year, and the few, and you mentioned MJF and Hangman Page, wishing it was the top program in AEW. What it is already is amazing, but what it has pivoted away from that didn't feel like it was working in MJF and Jeff Jarrett makes it feel even better, because we're here now, and it's like, they didn't feel this need to just follow through, like plow ahead with this program that didn't really feel like it was connecting in the way like a lot of people, myself included, would have predicted. And they've just gone, no, let's lean into that one instead because it feels right and it feels like the way to go. And I think there's a lot of little seeds like that being planted in AEW that are just starting to sprout and just starting to grow, that that allow you to feel optimistic longer term rather than just, it's a good Dynamite for a change. Like there's been a lot more good than great, but that in itself is a good thing. That's WWF's 1997, is more good than great, but so consistently so that it allows for 1998 to open up.
Well, let's get into this week's show. We could barely hear Excalibur running through the car because Pyro's going off so much. We see people arriving, big title matches, of course, tonight.
Can I just very quickly interject here? I don't want to do the arrivals. And I don't want to do you cannot do a single thing WWE does. That's hysterical. I don't want to do it. You can create the atmosphere and the vibe of, right, something's going down, everyone's already here. Just making it feel like there are people in their own zones getting ready. It just helps build this interior life of the characters. Do them like with WWE at the minute. They are presented as these are living, breathing superstars. You see these incredible drone shots of these very glitzy cities that WWE is selling out. And the stars are arriving into this glitzy city. It's almost like they've turned the lights on for them.
So the backstage area is a red carpet walk.
Indeed, indeed. So they've got like these drone shots of these cities lit up, ready to illuminate the stars who are arriving. That's the effect. I will like AEW's take on it last night of, no, we've got athletes here, high-caliber professional wrestlers and athletes warming up to go out in the ring and just, like, what are you laughing at?
I agree. I like that everyone's warming up, getting ready.
It's better. It's a difference.
Yeah. Megan Baines, they're like doing that. You see MJF just looking at his phone and laughing.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's let himself in for.
Yeah.
And as well, like,
better stretch it out. Right, that's done. Ready for Dustin Rhodes.
For anybody that would just see that and think, right, well, they've just pinched that from WWE, you should steal the good ideas,
tweak them,
make them yours.
Yes.
Yeah. That's always, that's forever. There was only one good idea in wrestling once, and then everything since then has been stolen and tweaked and stolen and tweaked. And this is like, it's just still jarring that it's flipped the other way, that AEW would steal from WWE after WWE stole so much from AEW and AEW took from the stuff that would work once upon a time. It's always going to go like that.
Also really funny there, you've got Hurts and you go, getting ready, Ass Boys, etc., getting ready, and then, oh my God, if they're all backstage using the ring, it's Max Caster. Boo! Chorus of boos for him. He's on the mic talking about being the best wrestler alive. He's got the trademark that says as such. He says
can't help the 4chan, can he?
No.
Go on, sorry.
He ran Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn out of AEW. He's always the mastermind of the Acclaimed. But who could survive the best wrestler alive? It's Hangman Page.
But before that, he says he's got this, like, the little certificate from your precious government. It's like, I'm not saying it like, the government's good anywhere. But he can't help himself, can he?
Yeah. Loves it.
So Hangman Page comes down and Max Caster's like, not you, runs off into the crowd, tries to hide amongst the fans who immediately point him out to Hangman Page. He chases him around, chases him back into the ring. At the moment he slides in, of course, Max Caster jumps on him and there's a Hurricane Runner off the second rope. And Max Caster thinks, now's a good time to taunt the crowd. Nope. Turns around, Page kills him. Series of clotheslines, a right hand in there. And then he nails him with a buckshot lariat for a very quick win. And as Page storms off to the back, Max Caster's there still. I've got a certificate.
This was electrifying. This was positively electrifying. It feels like the people have voted. Hangman Page is our guy. Here's something, right? Did I like Hangman Page outwardly appealing to the crowd and saying, come on, pump me up? Was that a bit early? In the moment, I didn't care.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see Hangman Page be Hangman Page. I don't know if that was a little bit genuinely unsubtle in terms of the character work and the direction and how slow burn and considered Paige is with everything. But I was like, yeah, I'll cheer you. I'll cheer you. Just watching him be Hangman Page again.
Yeah.
Recurring theme of the show and why I enjoyed it so much, I think.
He's getting closer to getting that old theme back as well, isn't he? Because like people pop for this one, but...
Dude, I like this, I didn't think it would suit him as this sort of quasi-babyface that he now is, but I'd maybe wait until All In.
Yeah, I would hold off till All In. The biggest crowd for it. I'll tell you what I really liked about this, and it was probably brought on, not probably, maybe brought on by the fact that this Dynamite was taped, but this was such a great tone setter for this episode, and what you got to bask in here was the glory of a crowd that were really into it.
This crowd was amazing.
Great crowd.
Second amazing crowd in a row.
And like another great Texas
Collision crowd was great, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's always been such a good market for AEW for these hot crowds. And it was a taped...
It's the Heb Center.
Taped crowd that
Like...
didn't feel taped. Like, there was no need for a noise button. You could just see the crowd coming up.
Loves it, doesn't he?
He's back. You missed hell of an NXT yesterday. We'll catch up.
Oh, no, John, trust me, I didn't miss it.
We'll catch up next week.
Missed most of it.
They
What
should...
insane.
Max Caster...
You are?
Yeah.
I've got a point to make.
Sorry, Max Caster.
Sex-obsessed fiends. Max Caster, for years, was a member of AEW's New Age Outlaws, Enzo and Cass. We always talked about the Acclaimed as like the sort of... Like the torch has been passed to these.
Yeah.
And how often were they not what Enzo and Cass and the New Age Outlaws were? The perfect opening act. That act was so often not used like that. This opening match thing was a different vibe, a different way to start a Dynamite, and Max Caster was integral to that in this new version of himself. And I only think they did that because it was a taped one. I don't think they'd have trusted a live broadcast to open like this, but I'm glad they did. I welcome more of it. It doesn't have to be the banger. It doesn't have to be the Ospreay thing. There are only certain acts that work in this spot, and I think Max Caster did.
Also going to be really funny when he actually wins, because he's, 0-2 now in this open challenge? He lost to Roosh.
Yeah. You don't want that to happen for ages as well, do you? Like 20 odd or something before.
Yeah.
Is it Bowens that beats him? Sorry, the Bowens that he like finally has the proper big match with or something like that. Like what's the...
Beats Billy Gunn, maybe?
Yeah, Billy Gunn.
Never. He won't allow that.
3.1. Whoa!
Billy Gunn's got an act to save after this main event, hasn't he? He'll fix them up.
So then we get a recap of all the Ricochet Swerve stuff. Ricochet talks about how Swerve's got all the threats and insults, but none of it matters when you can't win. He's moving on to bigger and better things. We see Swerve saying that they're far from done. He's all about an eye for an eye. And Prince Nana's like, no, what are you doing? You should be focused on the world title, on Mox and what have you. Swerve's like, look what happens last time I took my eye off the ball. Someone burnt my house down. Nana's not sure about all this. He storms off, and Ricochet's got the robe on and does the... I hate
Ricochet
him
in
so
that
much.
robe. What a great idea.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
Beat up some burger guy on Collision.
It's I love that
Some bloke serving burgers. I'll kick your ass.
the Swerve character development, and it is character development, continues to be one of the best things in AEW. Like how he manages to walk the tightrope of being a guy that does want to learn from his mistakes and then like make really dangerous choices that could lead to more mistakes and more things. It really should be Hangman Page stopping that row from getting cut up by Ricochet's big gold scissors.
I love that as a pitch.
It's Prince Nana being the one to say, look, this needs to stop. And then the threat of the Jimmy Rave embassy robe, Ricochet's going through it, and it being Swerve saying, no, look what's going to happen again. And Hanger being the guy to help him through that, and them almost like counseling each other through the worst of their fooed with their actions, I think has so much potential. Like, because they still keep them mentioning one another. Yeah. It's not over and it never should be over. And guys finding their way back to each other when they've half killed each other.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Swerve is great. Everything he does is automatically way more interesting because he can apply his star power and flair to it and his great creative mind. There's a lot to like in AEW right now. A lot to like.
We got to our first title match of the evening for the AEW Trios titles. Can anyone solve the riddle that is the Death Riders? Well, if you're going to tackle that, you need Oderick Trong and his boys. We'll give a quick backstory to Oderick Trong.
Oderick Trong was a cryptic fellow. Basically, Wilbourn got the name wrong on a Collision review, and we've now reimagined Roderick Strong as a... What is he?
He's a Riddler of sorts, I believe.
He's
got a similar voice to the Strange Doctor you may have seen on some old adverts on WhatCulture.
Yeah.
You know, giraffe head, anonymous face. We all know what
That's what makes him strange.
The Strange Doctor looks like.
He's a man who delights in mystery and obfuscation.
Got genuinely good. I couldn't be here for the preview yesterday because I heard rumours that Oderick Trong was going to make an appearance on the preview.
Well, here's the thing: there was no preview.
But there was no preview.
There was no preview because it was taped, and I'd already got an indication of how good or whatever some matches were. So we did a Q&A instead, which you can check out. And the reason why we decided let's do a Q&A is because there's a Saturday AEW show worth previewing.
Of course.
And we'll do precisely that tomorrow.
Yeah. Grand Slam on Saturday. By the way, just a quick note. Thank you to everyone who sent me some lovely messages over the past few days with Eric being in hospital. Genuinely was lovely to get those. And thank you to you boys for looking after everything.
Hey. Dudley's former.
Don't you worry, our pretty little head.
And I did enjoy Fumble or No Fumble as well, which is well worth checking out. Even if apparently now the Door No Door song is copyrighted.
Apparently
so. So do you want to know, did Tony Khan fumble Ricky Starks or Malachi Black? Well, we've got the answers for you on that podcast, so check that out as well after this.
I did, washing the pots yesterday.
Hey.
Death Riders versus Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly, the Undisputed Kingdom. I'll be honest, Sidge, if you'd have told me about this match about 3 weeks ago, I'd have gone, skip. And then...
It was class, this.
What was this? It's brilliant.
We know how, right? Kyle O'Reilly was obviously in a great mood.
I forgot about the... I meant to write this down.
Having seen his team, apparently, the Sunderland Mackhams, beat Luton Town last night, he must have been, fired up. I know it was taped, it was the night before. He must have been just hyped on watching Sunderland's great season.
Yeah.
I actually know what's gone on here. This is not the first mention.
Is this real?
I don't know that, but it's not the first mention of the Sunderland Mackhams and the Newcastle Magpies. I think it was because of Pac, because this came up in NXT once upon a time. When it was Neville, I think it was Neville and Sami Zayn, and Corey Graves was like, these two have backstage conversations about the derby in the UK with Newcastle and Sunderland. So I think every now and then it'll be a bit of a Pac thing backstage, a Neville thing maybe, because this is brand new information, this Kyle O'Reilly thing. I know sometimes wrestlers go to a place, put on the shirt, and then it's a thing, but that's...
Why would you go to Sunderland?
No, I completely push back on that statement. It's one of the best cities in the world.
Roka's nice. It's not one of the best cities in the world, mate.
Lots of Sunderland is nice. Roka Sea and Seaburn is one of the many great beaches of the northeast that thankfully get ignored by tourists. So it's all kept for us. But no, it's not one that I'm aware of previously.
You sure he's not just accidentally Googled Kyle O'Reilly and come up with this English midfielder and got confused?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Who's he playing for there?
Frickley Athletic.
Frickley.
The Frickley Athletics. Here's something that, instead of actually, I'll go and visit the town because he wouldn't, because wrestling doesn't play there.
No, it doesn't.
What if he watched Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix?
Maybe.
And
yeah.
thought, I like that.
Shambles.
I don't know why you would like that club
Shambles
if you
of a
watched that
club.
documentary, yeah.
Maybe it's just because you like people like underdogs.
Yeah. I got big problems with that documentary, but it's got some very nice, normal people on it, but
what if it's... So what's the one word that describes Kyle O'Reilly that we know from NXT?
Cool.
Cool cat. Black cats.
You've got that. That's probably it.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Anyway,
what was I thinking with my...
he's massive Netflix show.
With my internationally broadcast Netflix show.
I love the confusion as well on commentary because Nigel's trying to explain why Pac and Kyle O'Reilly would therefore hate each other even more, and tries to draw a reference to, I think, American football, and it's the same as trying to explain American football to us. They're like, no, it wouldn't be like a rivalry between those two teams. It'd be completely different.
I still don't fully get that. My assumption is even if you're a fan of an American football team, there is an acceptance that you were allowed to change franchises. But surely there's local rivalries in American football too.
Yeah, the Giants and the Jets.
Yeah, there's teams that the states have got multiple teams and
I don't know how it works. I don't know.
Derbies.
All I know is that I wasn't too depressed by the Sunderland result. Put some money on it, didn't I?
That's what he does. It's the Sidgwick defense mechanism. Is that if Sunderland win, like I'm happy and he's rich,
And I'm getting a little bit richer.
Good night for the Dadleys.
Get some beans.
What's the bunts on the Sunderland game tonight?
Are you going to do the same for the League Cup final?
No, I'll probably just close the curtains and watch a documentary or something until it's all over. I don't know. I've kind of warmed to this idea of for Sidge and Nicholas mainly, I must say.
I'm going to put 40 quid on us to lose.
I get that. I've lived that life before. I won some money on Man City beating us in 2014 for the same reason.
Just keep those fingers crossed you get Michael Oliver for the final, because Liverpool fans not the biggest fan of this today.
Was this
or
the
ever.
referee that caused the boot?
Yeah. That, and he's got a bit of history with that club.
I am predisposed to not liking David Moyes. He was one of about 300 managers that managed to keep us up, and he failed. So, like, what's your problem, David Moyes? But
It's actually got better.
I'm really into this Everton situation at the moment. It reminds me, like him doing as well as he's currently doing at Everton, reminds me of in 2023 feeling very vindicated by Jeff Jarrett's good AEW run. And it's like, I've been telling people there's life in the old dog.
Did you see the clip of James Tarkowski that was doing the rounds on Twitter last night? He scored the equaliser, that belter of a goal. Controversial, as Matt Rains will insist, but a goal nonetheless. There's some documentary of him, and they're like, "What do you like to do? Outside of football?" Basically, he's just like, "Well," his missus like, "What time's this show go out?" He's like, "Bloody love shagging me." So
She says shagging, and he's like, yeah. Just dumb meathead with a big cock.
It's the last Derby at Goodison, is that what you were saying?
it was, yeah, the last.
That's the law you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it was class.
I like Matt Letizia getting the last goal at Southampton, like in the last day of the season, it keeps them up, like before he goes completely mad.
Mysteriously disappears.
Now would he?
Funny that.
Like looking back on that game, the last goal at the Dell, was it? And like he scores it and then he retires. It couldn't have gone better. Would he now look at that and go, something's not right about that?
Yeah,
if you ask me.
But too perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway, Undefeated Kingdom attacks at the bell. They brawl to the outside.
Is it Undefeated Kingdom? I know who the Undisputed Kingdom are.
Yeah. I liked him. Fair play to him.
When we come back, the Mackham fan, Kyle O'Reilly's in trouble. He's being triple teamed. He gets the hot tag to Mr. Trong, who hits backbreakers. Gut busted to Pac. Cole hits a backstabber. PK by O'Reilly. Yuta gets involved. That allows Claudio to blindside Strong and isolate him. And they batter him again as we go to another break. When we come back, Strong hits a desperation lariat and finally gets to Cole for the hot tag with the crowd's, like you say, proper into. Nails Yuta, decks Pac on the apron. It's a fireman's carry neck breaker on the knee. Claudio gets sent outside. He hits an O'Reilly dive from the apron. Pac comes off the top and flies straight into a super kick from Adam Cole. They triple super kick Pac for a nice 2 count. Claudio comes in with a double stomp to break it all up and then hits a double suplex on Cole and Strong. Yuta tries for the fastball special, but O'Reilly gets the knees up. There's a really nice 2 count in there as well. Super kick from Adam Cole, high-low from Strong O'Reilly, but Pac just makes the save. And Strong tries to dive onto Claudio again, but he gets caught and hit with a giant swing into the barricade. Claudio brings a chair in, the ref gets involved. Claudio, as a result of this, eats a super kick, but as the referee is busying himself with getting the chair out of the ring, Yuta low blows Kyle O'Reilly, cradles in for the 1-2-3. The Death Riders kick the crap out of them post-match, but down runs Daniel Garcia, Cool Hand Ange, and Daddy Magic to make the save.
I thought this was really, really strong. I was electrified by most of it. And I'll tell you one thing as well. The Death Riders are an act calibrated to make people do the just bleed noise. And just get high on pro wrestling violence. They actually did it at various points here. The only time they come close to embodying the vision that's in their heads of where the hardest, it so often comes off as try hard and cringe. Funnily enough, it's in the action in the body of a match where it happens. When they do that spot where they've got some poor prick draped against the corner in the turnbuckle, and one after another, they are uppercutting them and just killing this guy over and over again, to the point where the second one of them moves out the way, that the jaw's getting rocked by the other guy. That, to me, is right. You've actually nailed the vision And I can see the vision of the Death Riders when you do that particular spot. Otherwise, this was just a nice, action-packed, pretty dramatic match, actually.
Yeah.
A lot more dramatic than I expected it to
nearfall.
be. The work was as stellar as you'd expect from performers as tenured and as talented. And once again, they found a place for Adam Cole. If they can remove Adam Cole from this singles main event picture, because he just doesn't have that in him anymore, I don't think, you could build to this again. You can build to something like this again. I would have the Undisputed Era as, or Kingdom as trios champs.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would. You could build something with this. Adam Cole is still incredible on the microphone. He can actually build interest in this being a bigger match down the line. There was just something to this that I thought a lot of birds can be killed with the same stone if you persist with this direction.
Yeah, this was like not even just speaking as like an analyst or podcast. Or whatever. I think this is my like personal fan experience over delivery of the year. Genuinely, on paper, in 2025, this is a match that I couldn't want less.
Collision did a good job of building it.
I haven't seen that yet. I've heard good things about that match. Yeah, like the Death Riders in general, Undisputed Kingdom. Like the very idea of the type of wrestling these are partaking in at the moment. It's all the last thing I want. And it's like sounds like it's a slight on all the guys, and it's not, oddly enough. It's a slight on what they've all become and like what this genre of wrestling has typically become and how sick of it all I am. And yet it actually felt like they didn't even betray themselves. They brought it back. They weren't reinventing the wheel here. They were just making me actually enjoy the wheel again. And I didn't think I could. Honestly, I was not remotely surprised by this action, and yet I was entertained by it, and I think that was the biggest achievement of all. Everybody, the Death Riders especially, played to their characters, and yet for the first time, I actually felt something for, as like Sidge points out, what it is they think they're doing every week.
Yes.
They've probably done it for maybe the first or second time ever. The Undisputed Kingdom as babyfaces trying and failing has actually made me care about them. Like this feels, even if it's not a story, and even if they do have to like go all the way back around before they get another shot of these trios belts, has made me feel something for them in defeat rather than at like phony feeling victories or victory lap promos where they're like, we're back, we're great. It's like, I feel nothing for you guys anymore. In defeat, I feel something, and it couldn't have come at a better time because AEW needs mid-card acts like the Undisputed Kingdom to do jobs like this and then potentially shore things up when they start winning again. Like a total success, this whole segment of television. And maybe there's hope for the Death Riders yet, because getting them out there in matches like has for the first time proven that there might be something to them as heels, because you want the baby faces to win. I was biting on the near falls too, and it might be rooted in get them off my screen. Yeah. But whatever gets the reaction to the win for now, and then sooner or later that will just morph into the work. Great.
Well, speaking of the Death Riders, we see Mox and Marina Shafir walking backstage.
What the hell was this?
When they are attacked, Cope nails Mox in the back with a chair, and then they shove Marina Shafir in a little side room, but
sorry, it just occurred to me. Is Roderick Strong going to be all right with that? They've overlapped for the first time, and is he going to be like, that's still my wife, mate? Like, is that going to, you know how the Renee last week was like, Mox is like, get her out of the way. Yeah. Right, we're going to have a fight. Might that have been a way to fold Undisputed Kingdom narratively so that Roderick Strong can be like, yeah, it's putting my wife in a lot of harm's way here. I'm going to have to do something about this.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, she gets shoved in a side room, but the briefcase that's handcuffed to her is outside the room, so Switchblade Jay White gets some bolt cutters and they snap the case off her wrist.
Bit overthought.
And bail before Mox can recover and save her, basically.
I don't mind. I've always liked the belt in the case if you're actually going to do something with it. And what was frustrating me was that it was just like, oh, there's belts in the case now. Well, that's where we live. So actually, I'm glad that like we've finally hit upon doing something with the belt in the case. Jay White is this just incredible ass baby face. It was the most off-putting presence on, more so than Cope. And like, think of the ground that covers. I was so like,
his trying to be a sort of badass, witty action hero baby face was not. It's not his tempo.
No,
not his tempo at all. This sudden friendship with Cope and this enemy is my friend deal. They're now just acting like they're partners in crime or partners against crime.
Yes.
Partners against crime, because that's what the Death Riders are, the criminals. They are criminals. I do not believe they have zero chemistry. I don't believe that they're sort of on the WhatsApps going, yeah, this is the master plan. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. I just don't believe in them too. They have anti-chemistry, all a bit lame. The cameras are very conveniently where they need to be in these segments as well. It's lame crap.
Well, more from them in a little bit. And a surprise return to close out this show. But before we get to that, MJF's backstage.
Bullet points, is it?
Yeah, top one. MJF is backstage with Renee. He says Texas isn't a real state and Dustin Rhodes isn't a real man. If he were Dustin Rhodes, he'd get down on his hands and knees and pray to the devil after what he does to him. Hangman Page walks in and tells MJF, get out. And MJF's like, whoa, got a crush on me? Like 4 weeks in a row you've interrupted me. But hey, you smell great. I didn't realise Jack Daniels came out with a cologne. Good. Page is like, it's been 5 years, mate. Is that the best you've got? MJF's like, okay, well, I know this isn't who you are. You've lost everything, basically. And for what? A worded apology? Look at you. You're the punchline. You're the joke. If anyone owes an apology around here, it's me, from the fans, from Hangman, and from Dustin Rhodes tonight. I'm going to beat his ass and move on to do something that you failed to do, and that's become a 2-time AEW World Champion. See you later, Seabiscuit. And Paquette tries to get a word from Hangman Page, but he's not interested.
This is great. This feels hot. This feels like the direction. They are going in this direction. This even better in the live arena, but I had a lot of time for this promo. MJF gets a lot of crap for like, another story from his high school years, or he wants to do these sort of complex character arcs and all the rest of it. He gets a lot of crap for that sort of thing. Do you not want people to stay true to the characters and that the stories they're telling and the continuity? His is all rooted in how thin his skin ultimately is. What a worthless, petty man who, because he feels worthless and petty, will do awful, awful things to try and make himself feel better about himself. And the actual resentment he has, it's like, this guy burns down people's houses and you still love him. What the hell are we doing here? And it's driving this organic feeling, conflict. I think it's really strong stuff.
And he was meant to be the guy. He was one step away from winning that battle royal at Double or Nothing to get the title shot on who threw him out.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because this interaction made me care not just about this program on a deeper level, but it made me think about AEW in general at the moment. Cursed, as like Sidge first alerted everybody to way back before it became this all-consuming idea, the soul of AEW. The product was cursed by that for quite a while, and it was babyfaces being told they had to talk about it and fight about it and think about it, versus ultimately the heel manifestation of Jon Moxley, like, working against it. I'll even include Jon Moxley in this. This MJF Hangman Page stuff, and you can include Jon Moxley, and you can probably eventually include Kenny Omega and how he bounces off Will Ospreay, and even the Young Bucks who are currently working from home. There is a story being told, just don't say it out loud, ever, of what has AEW done to these people. 5 years in, 6 years in, like, that's enough time to say, what is it to, like, the lives that you've led have led you to this point. Every decision you made has led you to now. That's way more interesting than the soul of AEW. It's like, to be the best in AEW is to do this to you over a period of years. Yeah. And they can tell that without needing to say it out loud. Like, MJF does still lean on all this stuff from the past. Hangman Page has to go like that, because it cannot all be like the 2019 like unicorn of a promotion can't stay that way forever. Yes. The two men that had the little verbals with Bret Hart in the middle holding up the belt were never destined to stay that way. They have got scars, and I actually like that as a theme without ever saying it out loud. Just let the fans infer that of all of these people that have been at it since the beginning.
I agree with that. It's a good take, and just as a kind of a way to build on the point or say something similar about it, my worry over the past 2 weeks, I know Khan's going to do what he's going to do on X. Another excellent show. Not another one. Not another one. I dread the idea that it's going to be more raw stuff purely because there's a little bit of creeping. Hang on, is this getting good again? Hopefully a lesson has been learned.
Yeah.
Of let's not suck ourselves off. The old rib removal suck jab.
The new 2021 or whatever the line was.
Yeah, hopefully he's learned. Don't just do it. Show, don't tell, you know.
Really fun match next. Brief but fun because it's Samoa Joe versus a bunch of losers. Sorry, Aaron Solo, John Cruz, and Rosario Grillo. It was nice to see John Cruz and Samoa Joe back together. I was hoping for another nope spot, but I settled for John Cruz hitting Samoa Joe and going, oh no. Yeah, these lads got killed by Joe, Hook, and Shibata. There was a leg captured suplex to Aaron Solo. Paul Grillo just took the Shibata chops. Joe tripped him with 1 foot and then hit a senton. And then Cruz, attacks Joe and just was like, oh, go on then. Up I go. Muscle buster. 1, 2, 3. It's all about the post-match. The promo from Joe says, people want to know what this partnership's about. Apparently they're his brothers. I didn't realize that. Hook and Shibata. They've all got a common answer to everything. Violence. They're going to beat your ass to solve any problem. They are the ops. They'll hunt you down in the streets, which leads them to the patriarchy. This could have been real simple. All Christian Cage had to do was take his ass kicking like a man, but he continues to hide like a chicken ass. The crowd chants chicken ass, and Samoa Joe goes, great. Since Joe can't drag him out of his dressing room, he's too much of a chicken coward to show up. Next week on Dynamite, the patriarchy versus the ops.
Don't like the name. Don't like it.
When wrestling gets its hands on a term or a word or a phrase or anything, that's dead.
Yeah.
I love wrestling, but that's how this works.
Yeah, indeed. This is okay. I think Joe's filming commitments for Twisted Metal or something have kept him away from AEW, and now he's back. The ops against the Death Riders, that could be a good direction. Similar mindsets, but Joe versus Moxley for Dynasty. If we are insisting on Darby Allin's return, Joe versus Mox could be a goddamn match. Like, it's because what Joe versus Mox could actually be is what Cope versus Mox wants to be. I think with Cope is that I've never taken him seriously. Is this, to use an old Moxley nickname, a purveyor of violence? I know he's done violent things and been in violent matches, and he went to a burning table once, and the TLC matches were no joke, but like everyone in WWE has kind of had the same career, bar the burning table that Edge has had, and I don't take him seriously as this ass kicker. He was always best, Edge, as this pretty lean, lanky guy who was a total counter wizard and used everybody else's strength against him, this little cunning prick. So this weird... He's had a Mandela effect of his own career, his Cope.
Yeah.
Where, that TLC matches were no joke, and he's had broken necks and he's come back. But I've said it, he thinks he's Jack Reacher, and I find that so cringeworthy. Samoa Joe has got the violent, real aura. Like, has Cope done anything like the Necro Butcher match ever in his life? No. Joe has got the credibility that Cope cosplay is having. And if
Vain event Adam Copeland.
Yeah. So, is that anything?
That's all good stuff.
The ops being a legitimate pushed trio, dovetailing with the Death Riders and Trios action, getting screwed by Mox, and then Joe, I'll go for you then, Mox. That could be something.
Yeah.
That's a nice potential side quest for Moxley before I think we have to do the Darby Allin thing.
Yeah, I would sort of to build on that, I guess. I immediately thought, good booking, the ops, just as a formalised stable, as a group with direction, kind of saying a lot of the same things John Moxley says, but putting a babyface spin on it. Good booking for AEW. The ops, like the Death Riders, are not my cup of tea. But the section of the fan base that likes this type of supposedly hard real-life wrestling, like ball-knower stuff, they reside predominantly in AEW, or at very least want that in AEW more than they want it anywhere else. Like, people think that, like, Bloodsport style is the very best brand of pro wrestling. Like, I couldn't be further apart from them people. But they want AEW to have a section, not even a zone. They want a vibe within AEW to be like that. So this is... I think they're boring. I don't like them, but they're like there's the truth. There's my truth on the ops. I'm speaking my truth. I'm a guy that likes you. Like, it couldn't be further away from what I want. Truthfully, I think they're boring losers, and I think I've never liked Samoa Joe as much as a lot of other people, and I've loved that man in a live setting. They make total sense for where AEW is at, for a section of the fan base that wants to feel more connected to this product and hasn't for a long time. It's good booking and good use of your roster. And I can say that with some balance of not liking them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel an awful lot, hence why I've just spent this time sort of optimistically forecasting a good short to medium term future for them, as opposed to being truly riveted by what they're doing now and where they could go. It does feel a little bit like fake. Yeah, a little bit fake. Like, Hook's not there yet, and he might not ever get there with the schedule AEW has. Shibata. Like, I've got a lot of love for Shibata. He ain't the same guy. Joe, it feels a little bit cosplay Hard Boys, but the babyface version is, again, a little bit, this would be a dream team if Hook realized the potential and Shibata never got hurt. You know what I mean? It feels a little bit like forced, but I'll go with it. I'll see where it goes.
We go backstage.
As cool as it should feel.
Yeah. The time's passed for this to feel cool. Truly cool.
Renee's there with Chris Jericho and Brian Keith. She's like, is it a bit of a consolation that Brian Keith didn't collect that $200,000 bounty that was on Bandido? And Jericho's like, it's okay that Brian Keith didn't get the job done, because this is a... Teachable moment!
NXT, wherever you get your podcasts from.
Jericho said he would have paid double or triple to have that bounty answered, so he's going to do it himself, and he wants Bandido in the ring right now. Jericho leaves, and Brian Keith warns Renee never to embarrass him in front of Chris Jericho again.
This collision match was fantastic.
It was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Sidgwick said to go out away and watch it. What a piece of business that was. It was amazing. So good.
But before we get to the...
ruin now.
fallout from this... Renee's there with Willow Nightingale. And I thought, great, we're going to hear about what she's got planned next and her going to Japan next month. And then she just gets killed by Marina Shafir. And John Moxley walks in and calls it pathetic for Cope to try and fight fire with fire. He's a dead man walking. More on that later. But yes. If you missed Collision, there was this brilliant match, as Sidge has alluded to, between Brian Keith and Bandido that we talked a lot about on the Collision review. And midway through the match, obviously with the history of the two men, they double down, they get back up, they're back to back, and suddenly, are we going to do this? And they do the paces and they do the duel.
It's the nod.
Everyone's like,
yay!
Well, Chris Jericho and Bandido are out in the ring. Guess what Chris Jericho does? He does a duel, Sidge. He does a duel, but this time he's got sound effects and lighting and all that. People are pissed off by this. They do the paces and they take their hats off. And right as they're about to charge at each other, as Brian Keith and Bandido did excellently, Brian Keith grabs Bandido's leg. Jericho puts the boots to him. They beat him down. Outrunners run out to make the save. Brawling with Jericho and Keith around ringside. Down comes Big Bill to kill Bandido and collect the bounty. But then Powerhouse Hobbs marches down to the ring and goes at it with Big Bill. Bandido hits an enziguri and Bill stumbles into a big spinebuster by Powerhouse Hobbs, who leaves Big Bill with the Bandido flyer on his face.
Yeah. I've got a lot to say about this. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible, but I've got a lot to say. By the by, right, you know when people keep saying, is AEW back? Oh, we're so over. How can AEW be saved? My stance on it is, you'll know after 6 months of really consistent good stuff, people will come up for it more. Just need 6 months of trust to be reestablished, right? Do you know a good shorthand of, oh, we must be back, will be when there are so many hot acts in AEW that you worry about which one Chris Jericho is going to feud with. At the minute, no one's so hot and so undeniable that you're thinking, oh, God, please don't go into Jericho's world. Like, maybe that's not true, like Fletcher.
Ricochet, I was just thinking of that.
Yeah.
Jericho's like, oh, yeah, me and you, eh?
Yeah.
No.
So there's probably a few, but it's not that feeling of, oh, God, they're going to get Jericho. That feeling isn't there yet, and when it is, it's probably good news, ironically enough. This it comes to something when there's so few acts that Jericho can go, I need to work with them, I need to work with them, I need to work with them. When his new version of that is, I need to do that spot.
Yeah.
It's not a hot wrestler anymore. It's a really popular spot. It's, I have to have that, I have to have that. So that's still a sign of the times. That's still a sign of the times. So what really pissed me off about this was not just the fact that he did it. Who knows, right? Maybe Chris Jericho, this was given to him, and he went, okay, I will do it. I'm a pro. Maybe that's what's happened here. We can't speculate. Maybe Tony Khan, who outside of the Jericho verse has had previous with taking things in a pretty forced direction in the past and forcing things. So we don't know for a fact that this is Chris Jericho being Chris Jericho about it. It sure felt like it was Chris Jericho being Chris Jericho about it.
In record time.
Yeah.
This was the fandango-ing of a really cool dual spot on Collision. And what struck me about it wasn't just the, all right, he's thieved this to try and do the cool thing, because that's what Chris Jericho seems to do. This was the most Vince McMahon latter day treatment of this organic spot. And he's always had that Vince brained thing of props, the list, and like, we need props, we need to promote this segment with the Inner Circle with a name on it and all the rest of it. He's always had Vince brained creative, but this was so latter day Vince brained of make it bigger, sound effect, lighting. It just fell so flat. Well, that fell flat in the arena because everyone just immediately just sensed, you've ruined the cool thing. This is not AEW. This is too WWE. This is Vince-brained nonsense. So contrived. I hated every single second of it, and there weren't even that many seconds, but the hatred of every second was super intense for me. I hated this so much. It maybe as a writer, I'm guilty of crafting and projecting narratives onto things when it's probably not that deep, but this just felt so not what we need to be doing here in every single way.
It was in this segment that I noticed, but I didn't notice you couldn't miss. The sign that got held up. It said, and I've got it here on my phone because I wanted to get the wording right. At least AEW doesn't have an untalented hack.
So here he is. He's going to stand up for WWE.
No, I'm not. At least AEW doesn't have a hack. An untalented hack saying you. It doesn't quite say that because they've misspelled doesn't. They don't. They've got Chris Jericho. It's 10 times worse. 10 times worse. Chris Jericho, an all-time great on his day in the ring, who has become worse than an untalented hack saying yeet through what he does to things. Like
this tragedy of him trying to relive his last good year back in 2022. It's like he's done it with Ishii. He's done it. He's now doing it with Bandido. It's just pretty tragic.
I sense he's going to put over Bandido. I sense Bandido gets the Ring of Honor title back off of Chris Jericho.
He's going to lose to Bandido.
That's a very important correction, Sid. I think Bandido wins this belt. But what we get is much worse because then it's Chris Jericho doing one ginormous C.
Yeah. Well, we said in the office, I said earlier, what's going to happen eventually is Brian Keith and Big Bill are going to split away from Chris Jericho, and understandably, because look at him, Big Bill's going to do great stuff. Brian Keith, yet again, showing we've been fans of his for a long time, and showing what he could do on Collision. They're going to go on and succeed, and he'll be like, well,
see,
my work here is done.
But you didn't do anything.
Didn't I?
Didn't I?
Yeah, the Big Bill Chris Jericho pay-per-view match, followed by Big Bill not making pay-per-view for 6 months and Jericho moving on to his next feud.
On pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view.
Yep. A tale as old as time.
It's a contract year for Jericho this year.
Sure is.
Not like that.
Hey. Tell you what about Chris Jericho, right? He comes in. I don't know if he's working and just building the character. He's a worker. He's an old school guy. He's very, very dismissive of the elites. Like, they wouldn't have stood a chance. He never puts himself over as I was the final ingredient. I was very key. So they didn't. No one have a clue. It's all Jericho. I mean, they did the little thing, but I think he thinks in his own head that it doesn't happen without him. There's a point to be argued in his favor, right? But he nonetheless thinks they didn't know these guys. They needed Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho got them the TV deal, all the rest of it. Maybe there's a grain of truth in that. Go on then, mate. Why don't you go to MLW. Go to MLW right now. We'll do a little fundraiser for you. And think, okay, the power of Jericho raises all ships. Maybe we can put that on a T-shirt. The ship raiser.
The ship raiser.
The ship raiser. Raiser, more like.
Got him.
Go to, always do. Go to MLW. Well, couldn't even do it with Ring of Honor.
So Scott Demore won the Maple Leaf one that AEW have worked
Yeah, go
with.
to Maple Leaf,
Be the
bro.
world champion of that. And
Go to the
get 'em going.
homeland.
He did say it was a...
Oh, teachable moment! Teachable moment!
He'd be the one to save Chase U. Just putting it out there.
He
All right, actually, I want Chris Jericho on NXT.
can't
Well,
do-
what's that look like?
can't do it with Ring of Honor. It's a difference.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor's to guys who haven't done anything, just like AEW was, right? Right? So why you go to... Why,
Which is it, Chris?
what's the TV deal, Chris? What's the TV deal?
Yeah. They're doing a Global Wars in Australia, aren't they?
Oh, my God. Don't get me started.
Okay, all right. Maybe I want it. What's...
I'll save it for the preview.
Okay.
I'm a little bit worried that they're going to burn out the crowd.
AEW. Right. Cope and
He's a little tinker, and he...
Cope and Jay White are asking if Mox is missing his precious cargo.
Freaking like Weapons Bill and Ted.
White said,
Do you reckon if it was Chris Jericho's idea and Tony's gone, you're going to ruin it and it's going to just be the worst part of the show? Sounds great, Chris. Do you know what I mean? Like, what does he do?
sad Tony Khan. Sounds good.
Everything is great, but it's all in the tone.
Yeah.
The tone of tone.
Great. It's great, Chris.
So,
I really hate this. They'll think it's like 2019 WWE. Yeah, that's what we're... That's great, Chris.
Get rid of the tunnels, Tony. We need a skate ramp out there.
You'd be all for that.
I would like the skate ramp.
see,
Joe, again, Joe was in it. Like, the big skate ramp match with Kevin Owens.
so yeah, Jay White and Cope. Jay White says, we've got a canvas we must paint with the blood of the one true king. And Cope... See your face when I read this.
Sorry, it's funny, isn't it?
Cope says Mox is stomping his feet and drooling like a baby.
What was the first bit about a canvas?
They have a canvas they must paint with the blood of the one true king, says Jay White.
Come on, Jay.
You know what good is?
You know what good is? I've seen...
Been there.
Cope mentions he's carried a briefcase once or twice in his career, and all he's got to do to get this briefcase back is meet us in the ring at the end of the night.
Well, we should call these two briefcase wankers.
Yes, we should.
We realise
Briefcase winkers.
when Americans want to be more vulgar than calling us Mr. Bean looking asses, the wankers.
Wankers.
British wankers.
Those
Three R's and a couple of
those
Z's.
smug British wankers. God damn it.
Somebody taught an American wanker.
God, did the check clear from Tony this month? Jesus Christ. You can do no wrong in your eyes. Have you not heard any podcast we have recorded since, I don't know, August 2022?
One guy rides the Fed. One guy signs checks with Tony. One guy's kind of in the middle. Those three are totally biased.
He's not in the middle. Oh, you're the middle.
No, I was putting him in the middle.
He's
But
not in the
maybe it's
middle.
more
He's in the middle.
Maybe it's more in a
I
literal
just
sense.
read the
He
what
likes
happened.
He likes NXT, wrestling's middle ground.
Right, before MJF versus Dustin Rhodes, Renee's there with Dustin. Thankfully, he doesn't mention that dreadful AI image that he put on social media yesterday. You seen this?
Yeah.
The real devil's here, and MJF's going to find out why he's the last of his
Well, that was
kind.
quite endearing, you know. Like an old guy who doesn't know what he's doing. He does in the ring. This is awesome.
He called him a bitch. We had a long debate about bitch, didn't we, on the collision review?
Powerhouse Hobbs should have ownership of bitch going forward. He should be the lineal bitch sayer.
So he beats Okada.
Well, that would make sense. I just think he's got the best. I'm going to make Moxley my bitch. I was all, God, what an emphasis on that. But Dustin's got a good bitch. It's one of those. It's like the Tony Khan hiring spree. I shouldn't hire another wrestler. Not every wrestler should say bitch. Maybe you should. It always gets a pop.
Yeah.
We couldn't say baby because Cope had just had baby. So MJF versus Dustin Rhodes then. Rhodes.
Oh my god.
Awesome.
draws a line in the sand at the start. MJF charges him and he gets hit immediately with a snap power slam. MJF tries to bail, but Rhodes isn't having any of that and brings the fight back to the ring. But Rhodes gets hung up on the top rope and MJF targets the arm. MJF mocks the crowd, goes to do the Goldust pose as Dustin Rhodes is in the corner, but gets powerbombed for his troubles. And Rhodes fights back, Manhattan drop, running boot, 10 corner punches. Hits the signature bulldog, tries for the final reckoning, but MJF spins out and double stomps the bad arm. He wants the arm bar, but Rhodes cradles him for a 2. MJF nearly hits a crossroads, but Rhodes spins out of it and hits it himself for a 2 count. MJF fights back, floats over a back suplex, fakes a knee injury, and that allows him to hit a snap pile driver for a near fall.
Liquid.
Great. MJF tries to put a chair on the injured arm, but the referee takes it away, and that allows Rhodes to crotch MJF in the ropes and hit the Shattered Dreams, kicking him right in the cag. Rhodes
Right in the cag.
finally does hit the final reckoning on the 3rd try for a really good, really close 2 count.
It was awesome, that near fall.
So MJF snaps the bad arm, hits a final reckoning of his own, locks on the Salt of the Earth submission. Rhodes tries to get to the ropes, so MJF repositions and puts him in a crossface, and Rhodes passes out. Let's do the match, then we'll do post.
I thought this was excellent. There's a tier of matches, right? Great, very good, and so on, right? I would describe the very good matches have what feels like an obligatory bit. That's that right? Yeah, you have to set the tone and tell this sort of story and sort of arm wrench, headlock. It's like they all start like this, get to the point. And great, it's like you're invested in absolutely everything. You'd want to see Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada do the smallest little things because you're so interested in what they're doing or whatever. This was like between the two, where there's no obligatory bit. This was bang, 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 bang. Not great, well, not a classic match, but just a wonderful bit of business on TV. There was not a single second where I felt like, right, they're doing the obligatory bit. Can I drift towards my phone here while we set the tone and go slow and then get into the action? Nah, not a single second of obligatory like building of the match. They just went out there, hell for leather, with this incredibly, like, really inordinately dramatic match, considering it was so obvious who was going to win. And the near falls were absolutely outstanding. It just felt like there was not one boring bit. And I know it's not really great analysis, but I just wasn't bored at any point. I was not bored at any point. MJF, as soon as I saw him interact with Jarrett, something snapped in my head. I went, he wants to be MJF again. He doesn't want to be the great all-rounder or the acclaim star rating chaser. He wants to be MJF again. And my God, was he MJF in this match. Just couldn't take my eyes off him.
Yeah.
Properly dialed in, locked in as a heel. Everything he did felt interesting. There was no boring bit. And that's MJF for you. With MJF, there was never a boring bit. Even when he had his worst runs, never a boring bit. But yeah, I just thought this was absolutely excellent. Completely flab-free. We did. We've in the can for our best match ever series, which you want to come stop by this channel on YouTube on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
A match maybe that involves one of these participants. And I described the match that we are going to review on best match ever is it's got one minor flaw, and that is the guy who you think is dying in there has gone on to have this incredible, yet another great chapter in his career. And it sort of it slightly tarnishes the idea that you're watching a man die and retire and have his last rodeo. And this match was more evidence of, like, this is great. This take will make more sense on Sunday, I guarantee it.
One of my favourite TV matches this year. Maybe just favourite matches, actually. MJF, Dustin Rhodes. The chemistry was obvious from the first few seconds, which is always when you know
great,
you're about
great
to witness,
contrast.
Yeah, you're about to witness magic. You could just feel it instantly. It has perhaps damaged any chance they still had of trying to make MJF versus Jeff Jarrett feel as big, because I kind of think this is eating its lunch ultimately, like in terms of both a mini program.
I think Jarrett past tense.
Yeah.
I think it's done.
I think they might be done. I think they might have sort of transitioned MJF to Dustin as a way out of the Jarrett thing to get him into the Hangman Page thing. And what a way to do it. Like this idea of MJF simultaneously knowing he is ultimately too good for Dustin Rhodes at his age, and yet refusing to accept that Dustin's experience might actually have enough to beat him. I thought he articulated that through his choices here so well. Like he was on that heel defensive game a lot, but in his periods of dominance, it was with the arrogance of a man that has been the longest reigning world champion. As like,
showed ass as well.
Yeah,
like that little Homer Simpson spot.
Yeah, like
when he's
he just
going around in a circle selling.
I think you've hit upon something there. He didn't lose something going through the various things he was attempting in 23, 24, but this felt like
He did,
I suppose. Like for somebody so young to be having timeless classics, maybe speaks to the brilliance of an MJF, because how can I be nicer about this? Because I don't want to be totally critical of that period of time. There are different versions of MJF out there, and it's almost like you can flick the switch of which MJF is going to be tonight. And I too have kind of missed this one.
This is our favourite.
My take on
it's time to
MJF.
play in this one for a little bit longer.
And I've said it a million times, he's too talented for his own good.
Yeah.
He's too talented for his own good. This is MJF. This is MJF. It doesn't have to be a regression. You don't have to do the Jericho pill thing. If you need to constantly evolve. You don't have to do that. Ric Flair was the same all the time, pretty much. You know, if you're good at something and you're great at it, you can make that interesting. And this is MJF. This is MJF.
I love these Dustin matches when they come around as well. Like
he's amazing.
The really great ones. They're not all hits. The formula isn't perfect. You can go out there and it can just be all right when you were kind of hoping for something of this standard. But if you look at this and like the like sweet rather than great like Punk TV match, and there are others that Dustin Rhodes had, he's such a valuable person to have on this roster. I wish it was the case all the time. I think it was the Jungle Boy one, slightly underwhelmed.
Yeah, the Jungle Boy sucks.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to say he sucks, but he's doing a bad job of convincing me that he doesn't.
They don't all hit, but when they do, it's some of the best stuff AEW puts out.
Just not a good heel, is he, Jungle Boy?
Nah.
So post-match, MJF chases off the referee, reapplies the salt of the earth to an unconscious Dustin Rhodes, basically. When Hangman Page's music hits, he comes down as a stare down with MJF. MJF shoots the double leg, but Page turns the tables and unloads punches on him. Loads of security hit the ring.
Bit of law, that. Sorry, I've interjected and stepped on your dick.
Right.
What did MJF start calling himself? The takedown god or something like that. Apparently they do backstage competitions where he would say no one could take him down.
Yeah.
And then people go, he cheats and all the rest of it. But he's like, no, like the thigh god or something. I will come back to this.
I remember that backstage competition.
Yeah, when AEW felt nice.
Hey, there's fights going on backstage. What? Yeah, they're trying to take each other down.
Before CM Punk ruined it. I'm kidding.
We all have a laugh. It's all good stuff. Everything that's happened over the last several years is good stuff.
So they get separated.
It's all great stuff.
They spill to the floor. MJF tries leaving through the crowd, but but Page goes after him. They brawl into the stands. MJF tries to kill Page, thrown off a balcony. They finally separate. Page gets ushered to the back, and MJF chugs a beer on a fan. Comes back to the ring, grabs a mic, and says, "Your boy sucks. Page is afraid of me. He's a gutless coward. He's a loser like all of you guys." Page runs back down. The brawl starts again. Security has to separate them, and we see during the break, I'll just mention now, Hangman Page killing all the security guards during commercial. And next week, MJF, Hangman Page face to face.
When was the last time? Maybe the Omega Ospreay thing. So I'm not trying to be too goldfish brained. Maybe this is a little bit different. This felt red hot, like actually unqualified, no caveat, no promising. Let's trend in this direction. This felt like and I know it was a good crowd as well. So maybe that's creating an artificial impression, but it just felt like this is red hot. Finally, after years plural, they've got something. Maybe the earlier stages of Better Than You, Baby. This is red hot. People are invested in this. People are desperate to see it and get in. These are the sort of early beats. The big promos, the big angles are yet to come in this one. Cannot wait for next week. What happened to these two?
Two men stood in the opposite corners next week for that face-to-face. I'm already sort of like scintillated by the mere idea of it.
Yeah.
It's the Kenny Omega Ospreay brawl from a few weeks ago. They've left a nice space between those. But when you can drop one in sort of mid-January and then another in mid-February, you're starting to flex again.
Yeah.
You're starting to show that there are multiple talents with which you can have similar but very different segments with, because wrestling is always a formula, and it becomes more about the people in it rather than what particular page of the playbook they're using this week. This wasn't, like the Omega Ospreay thing, wasn't just another crowd brawl. It was playing off the fact that the crowd want this brawl to happen. It's totally different to when like the Death Riders were fighting people in the crowd when it's just they stood there silent, they're not arsed.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that's a format point or a thing that wrestling does, but it only really connects when the audience actually wants to see it. And that was the difference. So this was just the most gratifying stuff to watch from a point of view of like an MJF fan, which I think we all are, but like,
we are.
Like a reminder of why you back someone like an MJF and why you kind of have faith in the process behind something like the Hangman Page story and all of that. Because this was red hot, but so too have been their little interactions over the last few weeks. You felt it then as well, haven't you? Like Page with Daniels.
What if this was the main event?
Yeah.
Do you know what if?
Yeah. Sorry, Sid, just checking my notes here. The first of 2 women's matches.
There's always a caveat, isn't there? There's always Dynamite's a little bit funny. It's either on a Tuesday or taped on a Tuesday.
Of course, yeah. I didn't even think of that.
And they had the...
I mean, this doesn't count anyway because it was a squash and a feature.
By the time the bell rang, they're like, get Chris Statlander out there.
And
But it makes sense,
The Harley
obviously.
Cameron bit afterwards, it was like, welcome to the women's bit.
Welcome to the women's zone.
No ladies' night this week, obviously, with no preview. And good news as well, because one of the guys behind the...
Data.
Thank you. The Panda Blair himself, Adam Blair, at Adam Wilton 4, travelling at the moment over in Budapest, working this week.
Goes places, doesn't he?
Oh, fancy Dan.
Bloody beer, innit? Having a beer.
It's a nice pint picture, isn't it?
Nice. Star of Brahman.
I care nothing for the beer, but it's a nice pint pick.
It's a bit too thick for me. Star and Prominent.
Just not lager. I've not got any kind of
I don't like
interesting as a genre, truthfully, lager.
No, I'm over genre, over lager. Prefer an IPA, a pale ale, or a sour. But every now and then, you're in a bar where it's like it's only lager, really. So you develop a taste for it.
Yeah, me, lager, Sidge, pale ale, sour, Hamflett. Bit of everything, eh?
I'll have out.
BK Cherry, probably.
I'll have out.
If it's a good place, it's a cocktail as numero uno for me every single time. Tell you what hits on, it's like it hits crazy style. Lager on holiday. Yeah. Lager on a Mediterranean holiday. Oh my God. It's usually that or a cocktail or wine. But my God, in the sun, crisp continental lager.
Do you know what hits crazy style and is a cocktail in Chesterfield? Any flavour of VK 3 for a tenner, because as I discovered, the reason why they're very well priced for 2025 and in crazy supply in terms of range of flavours and quantity, it's because it turns out VK is from Chesterfield. You know VK Blue and the like.
Yeah.
So every club is like, well, surely every town is like this, is it not? Like wall to wall, every VK flavour, 3 for a tenner. So you end up having like that sugar VK hangover for the first time since you were 16.
I used to get 3 for a pun, man.
Oh, the game. Oh, yeah, the game's gone. Yeah. But like, it's so far gone that you're just glad to see 3%. It used to be 50p each, 2 in a pint glass, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We've got
Make your own gross turbo shandy.
Yeah.
Got some great videos from that weekend. Shout out to Lee of Lean Gate Valves. You were showing me a new one that we realised we'd shot. I was singing to... What was it?
It was Vanessa Carter.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
There's another video from that weekend that people can unlock, can't they? Do you want to explain what's going on there?
I like a dance in a nightclub, and I won't be judged for that. Filmed without me being aware.
You're only in your 30s.
Exactly. We're all in our 30s. Wilbourn filmed this and had a big old laugh ski. Yeah, big old laugh ski. Don't show it to Sidgwick right now. It's another day for that. Showed it to Phil on a live stream. Clever dick. And got the live stream demonetized because the song in the video is copyrighted material.
I was like, no, come on. To the copyright claim, but...
However...
That's not your fucking defense. Come on.
No, it was
reply.
It was more, no, come on. Yeah. Because the song was...
S&M by Rihanna.
No, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, I have agreed that we are hosting the biggest and best SmackDown watch along in all of Las Vegas, and indeed the biggest and best What Culture live show ever is the main event of our What Culture World Tour on April the 18th, the Friday before WrestleMania. If you can't afford to go to SmackDown, come to us, because it's the best place to watch it anyway, in the biggest and best screen, in the HyperX Arena, and there has been discussion about this video appearing on that screen if you do indeed buy a ticket, and it caps off a series of dates on our World Tour in Manchester, Belfast, Glasgow, and London. Tickets available. Glasgow, Scotland. If you're in town for WWE, and why would you not be? They're running CM Punk versus Gunther. Don't worry, there's plenty of time to get to our go to the WWE show after our show, because we're going to bloody want to watch it as well.
Yeah.
In all those towns, whatculture.com/tickets. That video may be shown to you if you buy one. But only if you buy one, because we're not going to put it on the internet again, or we will. But
no.
It's costing the company money.
Sorry. WhatCulture.com/tickets and Sweet Chin Disco. Just go to dice.fm if you want tickets for that, with me and Mark Henry doing the after party for all those shows as well.
What's that going to look like?
Anyway, Megan Bayne versus Maya World. There was the footage from Collision with Thunder Rosa and Penelope Ford, and Megan Bayne destroyed her. Shoulder tackle, overhead belly to belly, no sell some strikes from World, and then hit an overhead suplex. Leaping lariat and an F5 for the 1-2-3. Megan's heading to the back as she cross paths with Chris Statlander, who's gone out with her match against Penelope Ford. Really like Megan Bayne.
I like her. She's got a good look and stuff. I feel like I'm doing Meltzer analysis. Got a good look, but pretty green. And, I don't know. She doesn't do a great deal for me yet, but I guess that's the point. I'm still a little bit cross with how they debuted her. In the Casino Gauntlet, doing the entrance in a sudden death match. I was just more annoyed with the booking and the logic gaps than I was taken by this great look and this, I'm still, jury's out.
History made, though, because this has got to be the first time they've done a cross-pass in the aisle feud setter upper, because it would have been the first time there's been like two women's matches. They could have never done this bit before, ever.
So then we get Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford gets a hammerlock and then tries some mind games, licking the side of Statlander's face.
Oh my God.
Oh, God. That's my mind games button. It's going to like... doo-doo-doo-doo.
Oh, so where is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Just move the menu along.
I think
menu along
YouTube
on the
really playing with
sample.
these last few days probably messed it up, if anything.
Right.
Statlander fights back with a sliding lariat.
That's how buttons work.
Corner forearms. Statlander missed a charge. Ford tried to lick her again, but Statlander grabbed her at the mouth and slammed her down when she tries that Matrix move of hers. There's a vertical suplex, and Statlander strikes a pose for the crowd, but Ford hits a Casadora and sends Statlander throat first into the ropes to take us to a break.
The ropes being used as a weapon.
Statlander hits a superplex during the break to take back over.
Blake, what's that? Commercial Blake. I'm not sure what that is.
Well, the action was lively when we came back.
Oh, that's good stuff. That is good stuff. You're a professional broadcaster.
Statlander cuts Ford off as she tries for a moonsault. Wants a deadlift German, but Ford lands on her feet. Does the Matrix Stunner. Ford tries for a springboard, but leaps straight into Statlander's arms for a German suplex for 2. Ford counters a fireman's carry into a poison rana, but missed the corner handspring. Statlander hit a huge lariat, and the Wednesday Night Fever for the 1-2-3. Post-match, out comes Megan Bayne again. This distracts Chris Statlander, and Ford drop kicks her through the ropes to the feet of Bayne, who hits an F5 on the floor.
This is a really good match for what it was. It had every pratfall of an AEW Women's Division match. It was around about the 1 hour, 20-minute mark, right before the main event. It went about... How long did this go? About 8 minutes?
Yeah.
I'd say 8 to 9 minutes.
About 8 to 9 minutes. Yeah. And I think I had a sneaky suspicion that Chris Statlander, who was making her first appearance in weeks, because that's how these things work, was probably going to win this one. It had everything going against it and the usual caveats, and yet they had a really... How long was the match? Oh, hang on.
Does he have no collar?
Sorry. I was getting ready for what's about to come with Harley.
It's time to play the game! Time to play the game!
How long was the not squash women's match on AEW Dynamite?
I'm going to go 8 minutes and 42 seconds.
I'll say 8:30 dead.
Michael Sidgwick, you win this one. It was 9 minutes and 18 seconds.
Oh, Your Majesty.
Oh,
Above
you are
9.
spoiling us, Ambassador.
Those figures are nearly double.
Genuinely, I thought this was really, really strong, and I love a match that reaffirms my agendas, because I've said all along, and I'm not like alone in thinking this Chris Statlander cat's got something. I don't think she's just got something. I think she's one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world, irrespective of gender. I really hope that they give her a world title push and a world title around her waist. She's had Britt Baker's best non-plunder matches by a country mile. The Willow stuff last year was absolutely great. I don't think there's a wrestler she hasn't had the best match with in AEW, if I go down the line. And I'm not going to name names. And the names I would be naming have had great outings in AEW over their careers there. But if you look at who's worked Penelope Ford recently and compare those matches to this, it is night and day. Chris Statlander's footwork is unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. She never, ever, ever, ever has that awkward, cooperative, telegraphing stuff. I need to run into place to take this move that has plagued a few Penelope Ford matches, really. This is her best match since Sheeta all the way back in 2020 for me, apart from like that crazed plunder tag match that she had on a Rampage, I think it was a couple of years ago. Chris Statlander, her footwork and where she needs to be and how she can obscure what she's actually about to take or about to do. This was slick in terms of transitioning into moves. She's so good at the narrative connective tissue of putting a match together against anyone, almost irrespective of their level of experience or the reps or the confidence or how good they are ability-wise. Virtually everything Chris Statlander touches turns to gold. Again, as I must point out, everything was going against it, as these women's division matches usually do. Just her timing and footwork is sensational, phenomenal. And when she needs to kick someone's ass with a power move, it just looks awesome in that frightening kind of way. I think she is amazing. And this match was significantly better than it had any right to be as a result. Penelope Ford hung with her. Yeah. But I'm not being funny. If you look at her recent form, a lot of this was Statlander for me. A lot of this was Statlander.
She survives quite careless booking or just negligent creative Chris Statlander as well. And we've often said there are wrestlers that if they're capable of that and everybody's still there for them on the other side or something like that, then always back them. I've said it for a while now when it hit us after she lost to Mercedes for the second time, but she's another Hangman Page in the making. Like, there are people that track her highs and lows in the same way that they've always tracked Hangman Pages. There's a loyalty to a Chris Statlander deserved through so many quality matches.
I want to see her every freaking week.
Yeah, such a high level consistently over this time, in spite of loads of factors working against her. Like, there is a Hangman Page story to be told about her journey to the world title that I think she tells even when AEW might not be. Like, I think there are times where she leaves so much of herself out in the ring to ensure that the sympathy will always be there. The care for her as a person, regardless of the character that she's playing, will always be there. And yeah, to Sidge's point, the world title win should be, and probably will be, massive.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is just deep rooted in the DNA of AEW and its core base to love Chris Statlander, and she always rewards that love with her performances.
But as you mentioned, we are in the women's bit of AEW Dynamite, because then we get a music video from Harley Cameron and Puppet Mercedes.
Money.
The Puppet doing this
echo at the end.
The Puppet does the CEO thing. There's a rap from Harley Cameron. She can do everything, can't she?
The technique on the bit just before she goes cut is incredible.
Yeah.
She's brilliant.
But then it's a serious promo from Harley Cameron. Says you always have to start somewhere. There was a time she didn't know how to wrestle, sing, play guitar, do ventriloquism, learn Chinese. But thanks to Mercedes doubting her, it's only made her stronger. And she also thanks Monet for elevating the women's division. But she's going to win the TBS title in her hometown at Grand Slam. She doesn't want to ride the Monet train. She wants to drive it. Feel the wrath.
Unbelievable, this. This was unbelievable.
Give her the belt.
It's just been so fabulously booked that you could
I'll buy it.
She's not going to win the
She's
belt.
not going to, but
this
I'd
is
buy a near fall.
fabulous hometown babyface booking.
Yeah.
Exceptional stuff.
They've done an outstanding job of building her. She's done an even better job of promoting herself and leveling up to that spot to the point where with the collision segment was really strong as well. This was even better, I thought, because you got all the things you love or theoretically love about Holly Cameron or what's impressive about Holly Cameron, and then she just is humble right before she stopped. I think the timing of that, the technical ability on that rap for someone who doesn't do it as a musician, as a primary vocation, was genuinely really, really impressive. And to just stop short of then go, no, it's about wrestling this, actually. I'm not showing off. I want to be humble. Just the timing of when she scaled it back was unbelievable. It's now reached a point now because she's presented herself so well and gotten so over. You could hear the fans when the video stops playing of like, we love her screaming. The 1% of doubt has grown to 5 of they could.
Yeah.
They could. They could, and maybe you could argue they should, because at some point Mercedes Moné has to fail upwards and be the world champion. Are you ever going to get a better shot than this? Is that the question that Tony Khan should be asking himself right now as we record? Maybe it is. I thought this was fantastic, utterly fantastic. And what was also brilliant about it, and what's so impressive about Holly Cameron, is that, all right, she can do ventriloquism, she can sing, and she's been doing the guitar, and now she's got this like ability to do like 4-time rapping speed or whatever, and she's still not remotely feeling like a show off. She's balanced it with this promo of, I just tried things, I just like to do things. That's so key.
This, for me, was another, I said 3 or 4 times this podcast, like the highlight of this show. Like, this character speaks to me in a way that when maybe my favorite era of all of wrestling, in spite of itself so often, when the new generation would speak to me, right? They got it wrong so many times because it wasn't... Henry Godwin is a tough guy, and you got to be tough to be a pig farmer. It was, Henry Godwin's a pig farmer. Duke Drosy has this very hard sideline in being a bin man, because being a bin man's a hard job. He's a bin man. Like, that also it was getting it so wrong. The idea is to have a character trait. Harley Cameron is not a ventriloquist, a singer, like a rapper now, somebody that can learn multiple languages, or even just a wrestler. The trait is that she works hard at everything and excels at it when she works hard at it. That is a character trait. These are not the gimmicks. Yeah. The gimmick is the trait that makes her a better person. It's that gimmicks sell T-shirts, character sell tickets, and what is in her character.
The escalation of all of this is wonderful.
So impressive. Her character trait is that she tries, and when she tries hard enough, she excels. So why can't we buy that she's tried hard enough to be a wrestler that she can excel? Yeah. That's the business. And yeah, the ability to go from, like, this starts with a puppet and Mercedes rightfully saying, nah, you're not on my level. Oh, and then suddenly she becomes the best ventriloquist. And by the way, in the background, she's been building up her wrestling ability. How do you sell that? By showing that what happens when she builds up her abilities is that her top trumps card is suddenly full of 10s. And that's how you sell her as a believable opponent. Exceptional stuff. And Harley Cameron needs to be the latest one to go in that locker room and be the answer to the question that Sidgwick often loudly poses of too many people in the AEW locker room.
Who wants it?
Harley Cameron
wants it. Who wants it?
Nothing makes me feel higher when somebody's on the rise than when they've proven that they want it. A 10 out of 10, and it's appropriate because that's what she does.
Yeah.
She makes herself a 10 in a thing, and she's done it here.
Then the tag titles are on the line. It was the Hurt Syndicate versus the Guns, Austin and Colton. Colton uses his speed against Lashley early on, but gets taken out with a big shoulder tackle. Then Austin tried to float over out of the corner and just got launched to the outside by Bobby Lashley. And Benjamin sends him crashing into the side of the ring before just chucking him into the front row, basically, to take us to a break. When we come back, Austin low bridges Lashley to the outside. Hits Benjamin with a cutter. Tries to tag his brother in, but Colton gets pulled off the apron, by Bobby Lashley and chucked into the barricade. Austin uses his speed to dodge a corner attack and does make the hot tag to Colton, who runs wild with a series of drop kicks. We get an O'Connor roll from Colton, but Benjamin escapes, puts him in an ankle lock, and Austin flies in to break that up. There's an assisted blockbuster, and Benjamin gets dropped with a Fameasser for a 2 count. They tried to hit the 310 to Yuma, but Lashley cuts that off. Benjamin hits a huge super kick on Colton, sends Austin flying with a series of suplexes. Lashley hits a massive spine buster, and Austin eats a pump kick from Benjamin in the corner. And Lashley spears in for the 1-2-3. Post-match, there's Brian Cage and Lance Archer slowly applauding the tag champs, and they have a little stare down as MVP holds back Bobby Lashley.
AEW is really getting somewhere, maybe getting somewhere, because Jesus Christ, son. I remember when the Young Bucks had the titles, and it's like, FTR again, is it? The Acclaimed and FTR at the same time. Two wrongs don't make a right, Dax. And then Private Party, we're rushing this. We are rushing this. Suddenly, with this match, you reach your point of, well, hang on. I'm not the biggest Hounds of Hell guy, but people respond to this act. He could do them. I'd have another go around of this. Could be the Guns. Like, things are happening, I think. Things are happening. This match was really strong for what it was. Like, really, really strong. Wasn't quite as good as a title win, but I thought it measured everything really, really well. I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. Without being blown away, I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. I thought the Guns looked like... It's good that they lost clean as well. You've just come back. Like, it's a bit of a sporting thing to that. You've just come back, so it's fine for you to lose, even that... I feel like I've always thought the Guns... had something, but it was really hard when they were coming up against FTR at the peak of their powers. The Young Bucks are still amazing, the Lucha Bros are still there. Maybe they're going to benefit from the idea that this tag division isn't as great as it was. But I love their wild bumping.
Perfect first opponents, first defense. Yeah,
indeed. It worked well as when they were stooging around and like with that idiotic, obnoxious yell, Austin would eat a ring post and then fly out the ring. I like that. It blows away, but I liked it. As baby faces, especially against the Hurt Syndicate, they seem to have immediate chemistry. Some of those spills to the outside because they're young, dumb, and full of cum. The Guns, the cum club, comes up, right? Because they've got that sort of...
What they're pointing in the air if it comes up.
Yeah,
not the fingers.
Yeah.
What's that entrance?
So what I'm getting at before you've lowered the tone is they have that dog in them now where it's like, don't care about our bodies, we need to impress. Some of the spills to the outside in here, nasty. Some of the bumps, neck first. And then they still build a comeback brilliantly until it's time to kill these off. It's time to kill these off. Like some good TV wrestling. Not on Saturday, you're going to get ideally, in some cases, at least 2 pay-per-view quality on a TV show. This was good TV wrestling, and it's been good TV wrestling for a while on Dynamite. I was thinking about this. There hasn't been a match where I thought instant match of the year candidate on Dynamite, but maybe to the betterment of the show.
Yeah, because it feels like it's reflecting more of a range than just desperately clamoring for...
Like wrestling, great wrestling, great.
Yeah.
It feels like they're actually measuring how these characters should be wrestling. What's a good win at this point of the character's arc with MJF and Dustin, for example. A really strong Dynamite, if you forget about the 2-man power trip.
You kind of allude to sublime matchmaking here for the first defense, but not the easiest to agent, and it impressed me this because if they are going to, kind of we said from when they first kind of introduced Shelton the way he was, if these are going to be a Road Warriors, Powers of Pain, Demolition type act, what people forget about all of those 3 when they were baby faces is that it can be difficult to actually book them long term because they're squash merchants, they're killers. As heels. Like, it's hard to keep them that way because they're just kind of too amazing to watch, and you end up wanting to just turn up for the slaughter. Even the friggin' Ascension got over as baby faces in that Full Sail environment because it was like, it's too much fun watching them kill guys. And like, obviously these are 10 times better than the Ascension, but compared to those other examples, the Guns were pitch perfect as like gutsy enough to be stupid enough to try them.
Yeah.
That's a hard...
Fans are chanting, "We hurt people" throughout the whole match.
Yeah.
Hard line to walk, and it's going to continue to be a hard line to walk. It's almost good that you've got a Cage and an Archer who believe they're their equals, and then they're proving they can take down, they can monster these little guys, but they're better than the people that they think they're equals. And that does is like show the range of the Hurt Syndicate's ability to beat different teams, because it's going to be difficult to find teams like the Guns, and a lot of times you're going to have to like be a bit clever in how you present it. This was spot on, end to end.
Just circling back to what are they called? Cum Club.
Cum Club.
Let's get back to that.
310 to Guna. Is that anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Mariah May's backstage. She says that Toni Storm should have died back in August, but beating her in Australia isn't the worst thing she could do. She could have had Storm beat her and then leave for months to make everyone realise that the women's division is nothing without Mariah May. But she really does love Storm, and this is going to be a mercy killing on Saturday.
Main event, isn't it? I think. They put it like front and centre with a poster.
Well, from the main event to the vain event, here comes Cope and Switchblade Jay White.
This guy.
Hey. He's always the one.
Cope's got the briefcase, and the crowd are chanting for him to open it. It's been months since the AEW World title's been seen on TV. Wrestle Dream, I saw someone say. But Cope's got a better idea, and it's the return of a huge fan favourite, Spike, that is revealed from under the ring. Cope says, I don't know if
you can't
you're...
be self-referential about your own AEW run yet, Cope. Who do you think you are? We'll get there, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know if you remember her, Sidge, but she's hungry, and she wants to sink her teeth into that case.
She's sleeping.
Fox, if you don't accept Cope's challenge for a title shot at Revolution, he's going to smash the case and take the title
He's got
for himself.
an awesome spiky weapon under the edge cover.
She's sleeping.
Moxley comes through the crowd, says, you think I don't care about the AEW title? You don't know jack about it. I've left pieces of my soul in that ring for the AEW title and what it represents.
Good. That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Different timeline.
Yeah.
It's true.
He's the protector and it's Shepherd. He's too much of a nice guy. He'll show you how much he cares. At Revolution, he's going to break Copeland's neck. You want your shot of the title? You want your shot of the king? You got it. And Cope says, that's what I wanted. But I'm still going to show you how much I care and start smashing the briefcase with Spike. Yuta tries to make the save but runs straight into a Blade Runner. Funny. Claudio hits the ring and brawls with Jay White to the floor. Pac tries to sneak in and does a brilliant, you've got me, as Cope turns around.
You got me.
But Marina...
Love that from Breaking Bad, mate. Love that. You got me.
But that Cope is distracted with Pac, so Marina Shafir can slide in and grab the briefcase. Mox attacks Cope from behind, puts the boots through him with Pac, but Cope hits a spear on Pac and brawls with Mox. Claudio comes back in, tries for a charging uppercut, but gets hit with the Blade Runner. Mox grabs Spike, and White dares him to hit him with it, but that distracts him long enough for Cope to hit Mox with a spear, and White and Cope go up on the stage. White grabs the mic and says, Grand Slam Australia, we put the Death Riders into the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about this. And the whole Cope, being, Spike, remember him? Remember her? I was like, didn't really. The thing about a lot of Cope, a lot of it's masturbatory. A lot of his AEW run has been masturbatory, self-referential. I did this in the Fed, now we're doing it here. And God, you've missed it, haven't you? Not really. I probably could have gone without it. Back to the Future ass. Cope. You know what I mean? If it's on the telly, I'll watch it. You know what I mean? That's what I was at with Cope. That's one of my analogies.
The ITV2 film of
Yes,
AEW.
that's what he is.
I suppose it's still in the first 10 minutes and I know it inside out, so I might as well.
That's one of my old analogies, that. So, right, okay.
Cope, actually.
Yeah, but now he's doing he's doing self-referential masturbatory stuff on top of self-referential masturbatory stuff, and
that's the real cum club.
Yeah, but he's just
He was on Spike, wasn't he? When Raw was on?
He was, yeah.
He was. Now he's like, oh, God, remember Spike? What, God, we had great times together, didn't we, fans? No? Not really.
Where have you all gone?
It's why does this keep happening? I don't mean to be cruel. I'm not a big Cope guy anymore. And the idea of him bringing back Spike, I don't know. I just think, who do you think you are? You know what I mean?
You think you know Spike? You never did.
You never did. No, just team with Christian Cage, and we can all go home happy.
Are they setting up? So it was Marina Shafir that got the case back. It's her that's kind of got control over it. Was the Willow Nightingale thing earlier on to be that it's Willow that actually saves the belt? When you think it's going to be all these loser men that kind of get it done, she's the one that actually rescues this belt and then gets the moment of getting able to sort of bring it back into the world.
No, Darby Allin.
Okay.
Willow, Spike, what is this? Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Is that anything? Is that something? What's that? Is that anything? Don't know where to go from there. What an absolutely ridiculous take from my otherwise esteemed colleague Michael Hamflett. It took 2 months to remember that she was going to have a foo-ed with Marina Shafir.
Yeah, good point.
Anyway, that was Dynamite. Let us know your thoughts on it in the...
Double juice at Revolution. Bleed and make me like you. Cope and Mox.
What a grim thing to lose a pasty bet over. It's like nobody wins.
I will not get a pass.
Of course, yeah. I forgot that's official now, yeah.
I'm going to have to get you that on Friday so you can eat it while the match is in. It just to like sort of make you feel something while you eat it. How's the match? I don't know, but the pasty was great.
Yeah. Nice little corned beef there.
Make it red hot. I want to feel something. You microwaved it for 10 minutes.
Spike bake. Yeah.
Is that something? Let us know if that's anything. All your thoughts on Dynamite in the comments or on X at WhatCulture WWE.
Edge Greg's. I'm trying.
I was thinking Greg's Christian. I couldn't get that.
Greg's and Christian.
Watch there.
Pins him with a sausage roll.
You can follow all of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
Oh, we have fun. At M. Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. For now, though, this has been
Comes.
Yeah, Yum Yums. Yeah.
Drizzled in jizz, aren't they?
For now, this has been the Dynamite Review. My thanks to Hamflett and Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.